Hey everyone, welcome back. It's me, Rob. It's Friday evening and I'm recording this video from my house. I hope you guys are all recovering from the work week. It was a busy one for me, for sure. This video, I'm going to go over oven cabinets and my approach to making and designing, oven cabinets inside a Cabinet Vision. So that's your double ovens, your oven microwave combos, things like that. And so I'm just going to kind of go over like the scenarios that I run into like on a regular basis, for all you new Cabinet Vision users out there. So before we go in and do anything in Cabinet Vision, I pulled up some examples of situations that I run into regularly. So right here we've got a tall oven cabinet that looks like a built-in microwave that's sitting above an oven, and the things that I would notice is that there's going to be two sections here. So you've got the microwave section up top, then you got the oven section, and you got a floor in between. And if we come to the next picture, we have a double oven, and these are usually in one big unit. So the cutout is going to be one big square, and then something that I don't see too often, but every now and then I see it, and it's the built-in oven, but it's down in a base cabinet. Same principle, I do this from time to time, but not too often. Most of the time it's usually, one of these examples. So before I can do anything, I have to have an appliance list provided to me from the, either the client or the builder or whoever's making that decision. You really got to know what appliances are going to buy, because all of them are different, and there's unfortunately no standards that you can really just count on and be safe. So once I get an appliance spec from the builder, then we can start figuring out how we're going to make this cabinet. Now I went to Home Depot and I just Googled a electric double oven just as an example. And this one's an electric oven with a built-in microwave, and this one is a single-piece unit. And we're gonna look at this as the first example. Now, if we come into Cabinet Vision, I'm just going to create a new job, and I'm not going to do anything here. We're just going to throw in an empty job, and we're just going to build a wall. And let's make this wall. Let's just say for this example, let's just say it's a 9-foot wall, and let's just say they want to go to the ceiling. So, once you get a list, now it's time to talk about, style with your client. So you kind of figure out what style are you going to the roof, the ceiling or whatever, so that's kind of, what I do when I'm talking to clients. And so let's just say that we're going to use that one from Home Depot, and we're going to go to the ceiling on a 9-foot ceiling. All right, so let's go to objects. I'm going to go to custom cabinets, and I'm going to throw in just a generic base cabinet, your standard base, and we're going to build this thing out of a base. And I'm just going to kind of ignore, let's go to fill mode. We're going to ignore, in fact, let's actually, under job, just so that's more aesthetically pleasing, let's just do a shaker door. Shaker door. There we go. There, that looks a little bit more normal. And not that it matters, and then also, let's go to a 1/2-inch overlay. We don't want a full overlay. Okay, so this is our oven cabinet. So the first thing that we have to figure out is sizes. So we got to size this thing to where it's appropriate, to take this oven cabinet. So if we go to this page, and let's just assume that this is a link that was sent to me from the customer, we got to come down, and usually it's somewhere in the product details. There'll be a downloadable PDF installation guide, and so that's what we have right here. And this one looks like it has a few different scenarios, but what we want right here is this 2D. It's the cutout for a double oven with the upper microwave oven. And if we go back just to double check, this has got the built-in microwave above it. Okay, so there's a lot of numbers on here. The things that we care about are the cutout dimensions. So usually you can find it has a section with the cutout, and it says cutout width, cutout height. And so that's going to be the important things for us. And if we take a look at the cutout width here, usually it'll give you a minimum and maximum. And what it's doing here is it's saying that there's probably a 27-inch version and a 30-inch version, and depending on which one you buy, this is going to be your cutout sizes. So let's just say that it's the 30-inch because that's pretty common dimensions that I work with people usually. If they're going to spend the money, you're going to get a little bigger one, more bang for your buck. Okay, so if we come back to Cabinet Vision, so we kind of have an idea. So our width, let's say our minimum width is 28.5. All right, so let's just build a cabinet, and we're going to focus on the width first because we need to make sure that we get the width of this cabinet correct. And depending on your layout, you might be forced to kind of fill a certain size. But for me personally, let's see, make sure we're 9. So let's just say we want to go, let's just say 107 just to be safe. So we're gonna stay 2 inches from the ceiling, and we're gonna go 107. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to clear out everything. Second thing is I've got to get rid of my toe kick, because you cannot have a toe, if you're going to the ceiling, you can't really have a toe kick. Because you can't stand that thing up. So what we do, or what I do, is I will take my full-size cabinet, and let's say we'll do some math on the screen here so you can see what I'm doing, and I'm going to subtract the 3.5 inches that would normally be my toe kick, and then I'm going to, so that gives me a height of 103.5, and then I'm going to raise this cabinet by 3.5 inches. And I don't do this in Cabinet Vision. I do this, we just build these, but I will build a toe kick under here that can be removed, so that way they'll take the toe kick off, put it in place, and then you can lift the cabinet up and get it on it, because you really can't stand it up. So I detach the toe kick, and you can do it inside of Cabinet Vision different ways. This is just a simple way for me, and we just built the toe kick really easily out of 3/4 inch material. So what we can do here, and let me see, I might have some layers turned off. So this is a brand new computer, brand new install. So let's take a look at, let's see if we can turn some of this on. Okay, here we go. So we've got some dimensions. So right now my width is 27. So So when it comes to sizing this, there's a couple things that I like to keep in mind. So let's say there's two scenarios. Let's say that this is up against an open wall, so there's nothing to the right of it, and then you have this scenario where maybe it's against a wall here. And so if it's against a wall here, what I do is I make these, I believe, if I can, 33 inches wide. And then I'll put either a 2 1/4. What are we at here? So we'll put a 2 1/4. In this case, I'm going to do a 3-inch rail on the side, and that is because we need to bump this out from the wall a little bit if you can, because you don't want that oven right up. And that gives me my 28.5 width. So if we come back to the internet, we can see here that 28.5 is our minimum width. So for me, that works out perfectly. And 28.5 seems to be a pretty standard width for these types of units, but the heights are usually different. But I found that 28.5 is a pretty standard number for the width on those units. So, all right, so now the way that I design these is I will put a, let's see, this one's going to have, let's do 3 openings here. So this first one, if we take a look at, let's take some of these pictures, it's very common to have a drawer underneath. Now, as far as the height of the drawer, that is probably, it is subjective, but a lot of times I will stay between 8 to 10 inches unless I'm told specifically to go bigger. And that's just something that I've always done. It's worked out for me. Yeah, so we're gonna stay with that here, and maybe we'll adjust it later. But we're gonna see, because you could, maybe on these taller cabinets and they go to the ceiling, we could do 10 inches for a little bit of a heftier drawer. Okay, so I'm gonna lock the height here, and I'm going to, let's go back to the internet here and let's take a look at the cutout height. All right, so it looks like we've got 41 and an eighth minimum and 41 and a quarter maximum. So actually, nope, we're right over here. We're 42 because we're talking about that 30-inch oven. So 42 and 3/16 or 42 and a quarter. What I'm going to do here, I went with the minimum here because that's a nice half number. So we're going to go the 42 and a quarter, and that's just because I like to keep the numbers on more whole numbers if I can. It's easier for my shop guys. So let's do 42 and a quarter, and then let's come in. Let's put a floor in here. Let's put a floor in here, and then this top part, probably what I'm going to do here is I'm going to put another split here, but we don't want that to be a drawer, obviously. And I'm going to make this, let's just say 12. And I'm going to put floors in here. And this is just how I kind of design stuff. So, it's just, some of you guys might have a totally different way as far as like aesthetics, and that is totally fine. So I put like a pair of doors here. I put like a pair of doors here. And I do need to make this, I'm going to lock the height on this 12. And I do need to make this top rail somewhere around 3 inches. And of course it threw this off. And that is because if you're going to the ceiling, you got to have room to crown it. So I needed that space there. Now that I have, let me lock the height here, and I've got the height here. Okay, so this, if we take a look in 3D, this is looking pretty good as far as like a, we're getting the design really close to where it would make sense. Now, one thing that we have to keep in mind is the trim kits, and sometimes it will give you specific overlap dimensions. So we've got to account for the trim kit, and specifically we've got to make sure that this face frames are thick enough right here and right here, because if we leave this at standard 1.5 inches, chances are that face frame is going to hit it's going to hit the drawers and the doors. So chances are we're going to have to thicken this up. And I've got all kinds of, let me see here. Sometimes when you lock all these sections, you can't adjust them in places. So might have to resize this here a little bit. But we need this one to be 3 inches. And we need this one to be 3 inches. And now let's come back and let's make this our 10 inches that we said. Let's lock the height. Let's make this our 42 and a quarter. And make sure we're good here. Let's put maybe like a couple shelves in there or something like that, Okay, so now it's saying that our overlap of oven side edges cut out, so 11/16. And if you look over this more, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going over this, but it will specify how far the overlap is on the trim kit. But generally, this is what I do. If I get a 3-inch rail here, 3-inch rail here, I normally don't have a problem. And then on the side, typically there's nothing for the cabinet to hit, so your overlap will be fine, even if it goes most of the way over the face frame. And then over here, we're obviously not going to have any issues right there. So In this scenario, this oven cabinet, this is exactly what I would do if someone told me that they were buying this unit right here. I would make it exactly this this way, you know, and so I would be confident that I could throw this in the house, and I know that the builder would be able to get it, get it in and not complain. Now, another thing to keep in mind, and I'm going to throw a video on the screen as I'm talking, is a lot of times when I build this or when people build this, there's a lip here, a 1/4-inch lip down to the floor, and you want to either flush this out or at least put strips. So what we do is we just put just 2 strips, 1/4-inch strips on either side that the unit can sit flush when you slide it all the way in and it doesn't drop down. And I've seen it where people flush the whole bottom out. You can do it that way. You can put, you can put 2 strips in there, and that will work too. Just something to kind of keep it as a flush base. And so then, just to kind of, we'll just throw another base cabinet here, just so that way, if there's any brand new people out there, this is kind of what you're going to see. Obviously this one, we could go up to it, but another thing that I do, and man, let me turn on. Sorry, I should have had all these layers turned on beforehand. Let's see. I was not on the ball here. Not on the ball here. Primary operations, whatever. Okay, these cabinets, I tried to make them around 26 inches deep. And the reason that is because, for one, it gives you that extra depth for any electric or whatever, those oven units. And 2, it gives a nice little lip here. When the granite guy butts his granite up, he doesn't have to nothing sticks out. It butts nice up flat against the side of that cabinet, and it just gives it a really clean place for the granite end to die into. So 26 inches deep, and then however tall you need. And then this cabinet here, since I made this out of a base, we've got no top. So to fix that, you can come into section. We're going to go to properties. We're going to go to case, and then we're going to add a full top right here. And so now that gives us that top of that cabinet. That's exactly what we need. Okay, so all right, I'm going to delete this. I'm going to delete this one, and let's move this guy all the way over to the left. Let's take a look at I'm going to make this wall just a little bit bigger. And let's take a look at the next example. So if we go to, let's say that a client sends me this oven that they want to use, and then they send me this microwave that they want to use. So it's 2 separate appliances, but they're going to go on top of each other. So how do we go about doing that? Well, we are going to tackle that now. So the first thing that you want to figure out is, or I would say, start with the oven. Start with the oven because it's the larger of the appliance, and so it's going to drive the overall width of the cabinet, and the microwave will always be narrower. So if you get the oven in, the microwave will fit in. So same deal as before. If they send you like a link, this is at Lowe's, somewhere in here. Let's scroll down. So overview, we have this installation manual. And I'm going to close out of this other 2 just so that way I don't get confused on all these tabs. Okay, so built-in oven, and if we come down, we should be able to... Well, let's see here. Okay, dimensions for the 27, and let's just say, again, we're going to go with the 30 because I feel like the 30 is the most common size that most people are going to deal with, and it's the same for whatever they go with, but we're gonna go with this 30. So let's see here. So I'm pretty sure that this 28.5 is the cutout width, and then this 29 1/8 is the cutout height. So that is what we're going to go with on this. So same deal. Let's take a let's go to our standard base, and this one also has tall. So let's take a look at the tall that comes with it. So let's just take a standard tall. And let's do the same deal. We're going to clear everything out. And let's say that this one, we're at a 9-foot ceiling, but let's say we're not going all the way to the ceiling on this one. So we're just going to go up 8 foot on a 9-foot ceiling, and we're going to call it good. So in this example, we don't actually need the... we don't need to take away the toe kick. We don't need to detach toe kick because we're not going up to the ceiling. So we know it's going to stand up. So, and let's also say that while this cabinet was all the way up against the wall, let's say that this cabinet is not up against the wall and it's out from the wall. And so we don't have a wall that we're going to butt up to on each side. So in that case, we're going to actually make this cabinet 31.5 wide. So that gives me my 28.5 width is what I'm pretty sure that cutout width. We're going to double click and we're going to do the same deal. Let's go make 3 in this one. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4 openings. Okay. So the first thing we're going to do down here is we're going to make an 8-inch drawer, and I'm going to lock the height. And then this is our oven section, and we've kind of determined that the cutout height we're going to use is 29 1/8. So on the height, we're going to do either 21.125, or you can even type in 21-1/8, and it will do it that way. And let's put a drawer in here, and we actually wanted 29 1/8, not 21. I was like, why is that so short? So that's 29 1/8. Okay, so we've got our oven section. I know that that's going to fit if that was the case. So let's put in our floors a second. And let's go ahead and lock the height here. Okay, so now let's tackle the microwave section. So let's say they send us a second link for this microwave with a trim kit. And let's go ahead and look for the overview. Come on, this one should have the same deal. Let's see. You think it wouldn't be so hard just to find out what the openings are? You know, they would think that they would want to just give them to you because they don't want you to jack anything up. Let's see here. This one, sometimes they have it. Okay, so the other one, we downloaded a PDF. In this one, they put the cutout sizes in the dimensions just right on the website. So let's tackle the height first. So let's say we want cutout height in inches, 19.88. All right, and the width is 24.38. So let's do, in the cutout depth, we're good there. So the height, let's go 19.88. Okay, so also what I forgot to do here is we got to make those 3 inches. So we've got to make this one 3, this one 3, and we need to make this one 3 inches. Okay, now we're going to come back and we're going to resize. And let me lock the height here. Okay, this one was 29.125. Okay, lock the height. And then this one was going to be 19.88. Okay. All right, so let's put a floor in here. Let's go ahead and put a couple shelves in there. Put a pair of doors in there, and then, okay, so we have basically the cabinet ready to go. Now, the only difference between doing a cabinet like this and a cabinet like this is that this microwave section is usually narrower. And in this case, it's calling for 24 in 0.38, so 375. So 24 in 3/8 basically is what they're calling for the opening. So a couple ways to get there, and if you're new to Cabinet Vision, you can go in. If you're savvy with Cabinet Vision, you can go in and you can add parts with attributes that will fix themselves in here, and then you can type in your attributes and adjust your widths, and you can, just do it that way. Or the easy way is you just, when you go to build this, you just say, okay, 28.5, how do I get down to 24 and 3/8? And then you split the difference and you make two fillers, and you just cut them by hand, and you can either pocket hole them or pin it in or whatever, and you build in the fillers in that section after you do everything. And so what it looks like, if we go to, like the CAD, let's take a rectangle, so you would just build your filler pieces in here, and you would build your filler pieces in here, and then, putty them, sand them, whatever, get it to that 24 and 3/8, and then you're good to go. Put your strips down there to get it flush. And I have found that is the easiest way to do it quickly, for my guys, because they're just used to it, but maybe in the future I'll build one where we have the fillers here that have attributes that we can type in numbers and we can just adjust it, and so that way it will show up on the parts list. That way, if you do want a parts list that has everything correctly, like maybe when I have time, I'll build one of those out and do it that way. But for me, and if you're a small shop just trying to get going, that is a very easy way to fill that in. But we know that we have our widths. We know that we have our heights. If between 8-inch, 10-inch drawer on the bottom works just fine. I get zero complaints. I do this all the time, unless they tell you something different. That's what I do. And then, you just got the cabinet on top. And again, this one, 26 inches deep if I can. I always do that if I can. And it works out really nicely. And so the only other situation would be that last base cabinet, where you're basically the concept is exactly the same, and I feel like it's more common to see built-in microwaves than the ovens, but you essentially just if you want to you get your sizes, and it's basically the same principle. I didn't pull up one that you would put in a base cabinet, but I think it doesn't matter. I think it's usually just a regular oven. So what you would do, if we go back here, you would just take this 28.5, so this would be a 31-inch wide cabinet, and then you would have to make it a little taller to fit this particular oven, or else really what they would need to do is find an oven that fits inside of a traditional kitchen height cabinet, is what I would tell them if it was me. I'd say try to find one that fits in there. Otherwise, you can get kind of out of whack, and it's hard to design around some of this stuff. But the concept is the same. And then microwaves, I do a lot of microwave built-ins where I will just flip these to where the drawer's on the bottom, and the microwave sits in this area here. And the same deals apply wherever you're going to have a trim kit. You know, you want to make sure, you know, you have fatter styles all the way around. And what I actually do here is I don't actually do that, because you see how it pushed my drawer in. So what I do here in a situation like this is I do the same thing where I will fill this in. I will put fillers here, and I will close in that space from left to right above the drawer, so that way they still get the widest amount of drawer. And you get a microwave on top. So and then a lot of times you'll have to either fill this down, or, you know, whatever you got to do to make it fit in there, and then get the trim kit around. So that's basically it. I don't want to, you know, I'm trying to keep these shorter, so that way, you know, they don't, you know, attention spans. It's tough when you get hit with a lot of information. So hopefully these two examples were helpful. I feel like these are going to be common scenarios for the vast majority of cabinet makers out there. So, you know, hopefully this is helpful. If there's anything that you guys want to interject or comment or ask, please do. And I will gladly answer all the questions that I can. But yeah, that's it. So I'll leave it at that. So thanks for watching. I hope you guys have a great weekend, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.